On this week's show, how to secure properties on a lease option agreement.
In the news, we're going to be discussing why landlords are selling up.
And we're going to be answering all your property-related questions.
Welcome to the Property Investors Podcast. Thanks so much for tuning in. Make sure you subscribe so you never miss an upload. You can catch us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify and YouTube. Enjoy this week's show and don't forget to share it with all your friends.
Hey, I'm Russell Leeds.
Hey, I'm Alistair Cunningham.
And welcome to the Property Investors Podcast. It feels like I've seen you a lot recently.
Too much.
Normally we're like, what have you been up to? But I kind of know what you've been up to.
Not much.
Hanging out with Rick and becoming a vegan.
No, well, that lasted about a week.
Are you not a vegan anymore?
Well, we were till Friday night, then we had Turkish. And, as in chicken.
What did you have yesterday?
He would say he was the worst vegan.
What did we have yesterday?
Oh, you had a KFC.
A Kentucky Fried. You're stuck there, aren't you?
Yeah.
Kentucky Fried.
Cauliflower.
Chicken. Yeah.
He's the worst vegan though, literally. He said to me, do you know what he said to me? Can I tell the story? Right. So I met up with him and Rick, and they were like, guess what we're doing? Of course they do it together because, they're basically partners. They were like, guess what we're doing? I said, I don't know. What are you doing? We're vegans! And I was like, really? Vegans? Like, why? Oh, for the health reasons. Well, we're not vegans. We're vegan lifestyle. I was like, what's the difference? Vegan lifestyle is where you're vegans, but you still eat meat sometimes. It's do you know what that's called? A normal person.
Yeah. Well, truly. It's about a choice, and I chose to do the vegan lifestyle.
How long for?
A week.
A week?
Yeah.
So you gave up?
No, I've cut
I actually think I've gone a week without eating meat accidentally. I mean,
yeah,
not exactly.
you forgot.
It's not like that's a vegan lifestyle.
I decided, so I've cut dairy out, but to be honest, I've not had dairy for a long time anyway, because whenever I have dairy I get heartburn. Same with bread, whenever I have bread I get really bad heartburn. So I've cut dairy and bread out, and I have done for months.
You do realise that bread has got nothing to do with vegan. In fact, you probably allow bread.
No, I know you are, I know, but that gives me heartburn. So what I decided to do was just cut back on meats, particularly red meats. And do you know what? I feel better for it. I've lost a couple of kilograms. We're all good. Nice. But Rick, you fancy that KFC on the way home?
Absolutely. They do vegan options, yes.
Yeah.
I had a vegan burger.
We had a Nando's, and obviously this lasted a week. So during that week, we had a Nando's together, the three of us, and they both had stupid chickpea.
We had the imitator wrap,
and he had the beanie.
And it was just absolutely.
I feel like we
filth.
talk about Nando's too much on this show. I'm beginning to think people will think that Nando's actually sponsored the show.
I think somebody actually complained that we talked about Nando's last week.
They did. Well, they didn't complain. They just said skip the first 3 minutes to miss the rubbish about Nando's. You're welcome.
Oh, okay. Nothing wrong with Nando's, mate.
Nothing wrong with Nando's.
Maybe you need to go get a Nando's. Let me ask you something. What's your favourite? Is it hot? Is it medium? Or are you like a bit like Ricky, and you have plainish because he can't stand spice?
Which is just
So,
unbelievable.
considering he's part Indian, he cannot have spice. I mean, his dad would be ashamed to call him his son. Like
when he orders a korma.
When he orders, he doesn't even order a korma. That's
chicken.
Hold
on. I normally not chicken anymore, but normally I have a tikka masala. That's one level up from a korma.
Well, what's wrong with your voice, Rick? You don't sound well. You sound like you got a touch of. I'm very wary nowadays. It used to be that someone would sneeze or cough, and you'd be like, "Oh, are you okay?"
No, listen.
Piss off.
Shall I tell you what it is? We have been very busy with virtual events, and we give it everything we've got. And when I'm raising the energy, I don't hold back, and my voice has gone from that.
So the thing is, I've watched you two do virtual events, and you do 95% of the work, yet you're here fresh as a daisy, talking fine. He does 5%. He's like, if Rick had to do like 5 minutes in your shoes, well, that's what he does do. He does 5 minutes. And you get the leads by literally just sending letters to houses, right? So it's not like a case of looking on Rightmove and trying. I mean, these houses aren't even for sale. But you're right though. It's about It's finding a lead that you think would be good, that would work as an option.
The thing is, right? How many letters do you send in a week?
About 25 a week.
And what's the response rate?
So response rate, I'm getting about 2 responses a week.
Okay, so what's that? That's like 10%. No, it's not.
Nearly.
Yeah, it is. It's nearly 10%.
Yeah.
So you get a 10%
But
response
one
rate.
of them is like normally politely.
Yeah.
We're not interested in selling. Please don't send us any more letters.
Okay, that's fine.
or something along the lines of that.
Yeah.
And then the other one is a conversation. So I've got like right now I'm in conversations with about 9 or 10 different people. You
Yeah.
know, and then it's just a case of it's a numbers game. It isn't a numbers game.
Yeah.
It's the same as anything. It's like it's sales numbers game. Well, kind of it's a numbers game because you do have the more people you ring, the more likely you are to get the deal. But there's also a skill to it and as well.
100%.
Like you say, finding the right leads, sending the right letters, making sure that you're communicating the right way, how to negotiate with them once you do speak to them.
Yeah.
But like I said, I've got one right now, not far from here. It's a house, very big back garden. It's like a corner plot sort of thing, really massive back garden, and it would fit really nicely with apartments around the back, right? It's got a lot of space. At the moment, it's a garage at the back. He runs running like a car thing back there. But he closed the business on Saturday, and we sent him the letter the week before he closed his business. Now you could go, that's just lucky, right? Yeah, that's just lucky. But you make your own luck when you send lots of letters, right?
Yeah, of course you do. It's not about. It's not. I don't believe in luck. I think you make your own luck because at the end of the day, that garage has been there for however many years,
1984.
and many people have been able to walk past that and see it, but not many people have taken action against it. You've taken action, and as a result, you're now in a conversation with the guy that owns it. Potentially, you get something out of it. Right, you just reminded me of a plot, okay, in Milton Keynes, and I used to serve this guy, and he owns a garage, a car garage, same thing.
You say you used to serve the guy?
And when I was with my old company, I used to serve him tools, okay?
Okay.
So he has a plot.
Served him what?
I used to serve him mechanical tools. Right? He used to. He runs a garage from the front, but he owns the whole plot of land. Now the plot of land is not massively wide, but it's very, very deep. Okay, so it's probably double the width of this studio, but it's probably like 150, 200 yards deep. It's really deep, and you could probably get about 8 houses in there. That's what she said. You could probably get about 8 houses on there.
That's not
right?
what she said.
Anyway, my
She'd
point
never say
being,
that about herself. Probably get 8 houses in there.
My point being is you just reminded me now of that.
Yeah.
I didn't even think about that. And I know the owner, and I know he'd be up for me. He ain't got the money to do it himself, but he owns the asset. So I know that if I went to him and said, look, he's getting to retirement age anyway, I'm like, if you let's just do a lease option, see if we could potentially do something, I could put you in touch or something like that.
Thing is, right, they know as well. I've spoken to a few people where they've got like a nice I mean, obviously right now we're talking about land and probably this works as well for houses. We'll come back to houses in a second, right? But I was speaking to one guy and he said, oh yeah, I've had a few developers contact me in the past, and they always try and pull the wool over my eyes to pretend that it's work. But people know. They're not stupid.
At the end of the day, right, the guy that owns that bit of land, he's acquired that bit of land and he's run a business. So he's not a moron, right? So treat the guy with a bit of respect, for God's sake.
But what we offer is we say to them, like, look, man, we don't say it like that. But what we say is you got 3 options. We can either buy it off you for X.
Yeah.
We can buy it off you on a lease option, which means we'll be able to give you more while we go and get planning and we'll give you Y. Mm-hmm. Or we'll do it together, we'll do it with you. You can bring the asset, we'll do the development, we'll split the profits.
Split the profits, which is, there's an option, 3 options, great way. However, big land, things like that's amazing stuff, but most of our viewers will be thinking that's too far down the line for me.
Yeah, so what can they
start? I'll talk to you about houses, because I've got 4, or I had 4 lease option agreements on houses that I made into HMOs. I've actually just reassigned one of them. I've just passed that on to another investor to help him out on his journey.
And you've made what? How much on that?
So on that particular deal, that was the first ever lease option agreement I put together. And then what I'd done was, it was a single let, I then converted into a 4-bed HMO, and it's been tenanted, and it's been doing fairly well ever since. It's not been 100% occupancy, but it's been doing fairly well ever since. I've been making sort of $450 a month from that property.
It's gone up in equity. It's gone up in because you've got the option to buy it. You gain off the capital appreciation.
Option to buy at £83,000. Properties in the street are selling for £90,000 to £95,000 at the minute. And it's been making $450 a month, say there or thereabouts, since about 2 years ago. So if you say £400 a month for 12 months, that's £4,800 times 2. That's
10 grand.
That's 10 grand.
And you just sold it in for 12.
the guy that's buying it off me, he's paying all the costs I incurred for furnishing, refurb, and conversion, which is about 12 grand. So I've made the 10 grand there, 12 grand from him, 22 grand. He's got this option. He can buy it in 6 years for 83,000. By then it might be worth 110, 120.
But he knows it's already worth 95.
Yeah, he knows it's already worth 95. Plus he's got that now cash flow, 450 a month. But the reason why I let him have it is because he's got a pot of money to invest, okay? And he wanted to get 2 houses with that pot of money. And it wasn't quite enough for 2 buy-to-let mortgages. So I said, look, do this. It's going to cost you 12 grand. You can buy it down the line. And then the rest of the money you've got available, which is about 40 grand, you then put that into a buy-to-let. Now you've got 2 houses giving you 2 rental incomes, as opposed to 1 house giving you 1 rental income. You've got 2 houses going up in capital appreciation, and 1 you have to buy down the line, but 1 you buy now. So for him, he's getting 2 houses for the price of 1, essentially, because he previously was just going to buy a buy-to-let. Like, lease options are great, and how that come about was I found a vendor that was struggling. They were struggling with the property, and they just wanted out of it. And I went along and I offered them a solution to get out of it. And as a result, the vendors, they've got a lot of time for me. They've got a lot of respect for me. I've honoured everything I said I would. I got their permission before I passed it on to somebody else, and we all had a Zoom call together, and we said, look, here's the guy that's going to be taking over. Lovely guy. But I'm going to be working with him on this to make sure it all goes through forward. And they're like, yeah, no problem. He sounds a great guy. Let's get the contracts done properly. Happy days, all done. And the people that own the house have come back to me just last week and said, look, we've actually got a further 3 houses in London that we'd like to do a similar sort of agreement on. And these are in Streatham and nice parts, well, that side of London.
So now, most people it doesn't work for, does it? Which is why it's a bit of a numbers game. Because let's say I'm just Joe Bloggs and I bought a house for 90 grand, and then I want to sell that to buy my next house.
Yeah.
A lease option wouldn't work, because I wouldn't be able to give you my house.
No.
And then wait 5, 6, 7, whatever it is, years for you to give me the money. So what type of people are you looking for when it comes to a lease option?
You're looking for people that cannot access or do not have any equity in the house, and also people that don't need the money. So if there's no equity left in the house, but they want to move on and maybe move in with family or whatever, then they're ideal candidates. Also, people that can't access it because they can't remortgage, or they can't get a mortgage or whatever, or anything like that. Or people that have got an asset that they've been left, but they can't do anything with it, or they don't want it, they don't want the hassle of it, but they don't necessarily need that money now, and then you can give them a slightly better money.
So let's say, like, you know, in certain areas, especially up north, a lot of houses are sitting in negative equity. So someone will have bought the house for 100 grand, which means that they probably put a deposit down of
25,000.
Well, that's if it's buy to let. A lot of these will be single. It's maybe only 10, right?
That's a good point, actually. You just baffled me there. Good point, 100%. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, so
because a lot of these will be on residential mortgages that you have to then get consent to let.
So maybe they bought it for 90. They put 10 in. So they've got 100. Put 10 in. So they've got £90,000 worth of debt there. Yeah. If that house drops to £90,000 worth of debt, they've got no equity in the house at all. If they sell it to you for 90, which is what it's worth, suddenly they've just lost 10 grand.
Another thing, the biggest cause of negative equity in the UK was the property crash in 2008, especially up north. They were the hardest hit areas.
I mean, some of the properties still haven't recovered.
Blackpool still hasn't really recovered. There's places in the northeast, Durham, and further up in the northeast are still not recovered, and they're getting there, but they're not quite recovered. And what's happening is Northern Rock and NRAM, they used to give 110% mortgages. So if your house is worth £100,000, instead of giving you a 90% mortgage where they'd lend you 90, they would lend you £110,000. So day one you were getting 110k, but the house was only ever worth 100, because they knew that properties markets, they suspected the property would always go up. Now historically, properties do go up over time, but there's always them little dips and corrections.
Well, it goes like this, doesn't it?
Yeah, but it does eventually start end higher. And do you know what I mean? And as a result, you were having properties in negative equity. Now, lease options aren't for everybody. You're very right, they're not. Because you've got to do it ethically, because you've got to remember the people that are in a situation where they would let you have a property on lease option, they're potentially in a situation where they're vulnerable, where they're probably not in the best situation financially in their life, the property's a little bit negative equity, they want to move, they're stressed out, and it would be completely unethical of you to go in and take advantage of that. So we teach that you only ever do lease option agreement if it is a good win and a good cause for the investor and the seller. If it's one wins and one loses, that's not a fair exchange. So make sure you do it properly, make sure you do it ethically, get a legal representation for both yourself and the seller so that they fully understand what's going on. And make sure you do not use template contracts because they will not stand up in court. It is that simple. Because all they have to do, let's say it comes to 5 years' time when you can buy it. The vendor is now like, hey, why are you buying this house and I'm giving you all the equity? And you're like, hey, Mr. Vendor, but 5 years ago when you were struggling, like, you really wanted this. So I provided you the service. Now that I'm benefiting from my investment at the beginning, you now can't have it all your own way. But the problem is vendors tend to forget about the time when they took it because now all they're seeing is the money. So if you use a legal, a template off some website that you get or whatever for next to nothing because you're too tight to pay for a solicitor to do it, then you're probably going to lose the deal when it goes to court, if it goes to court.
Yeah, you want them to be legally represented.
100%.
So that if it does go to court, the solicitor can say, yeah, I wanted the deal, he knew what he was getting into at the time.
You agreed to it, you had representation, you can't then come back and say you didn't agree to it.
Yeah, agreed. So if you're going to give 2 top tips for someone trying to get into lease options, what would your top 2 tips be? Okay,
you have to understand your areas, understand where you're looking for, get out there and you need to actually start meeting vendors and have conversations with them, and you need to become a problem solver. So people have got issues, you need to be that person that fixes them. And secondly, whatever you do... That was tip 1.
It's about 3 tips.
I know. And secondly, whatever you do, make sure it is legally drafted and the vendor is legally represented. You would want to treat them exactly as if you would want your mother and father treated. And if you're not going to do that, don't even do this because it's unethical.
There you go.
That was about my top 20 tips.
That was your top 20 tips rolled up into top 2 tips rolled up into about 25 minutes.
Yeah.
Right, it's now time for this.
Okay, it's now time for the news, and in the news this week, we are discussing why landlords are selling... Why landlords, for those of you that are not watching, Russell's just lowered my seat, just shows you how immature he is. Okay, so a number of landlords are exiting the private rental sector in response to the changing market dynamics. The proportion of homes for sale that were previously rented has been on a steady upward trajectory. And yeah, it's pretty crazy. 13% of homes marketed are now for sale in the last 3 months. And why is this happening? Landlords may simply be selling property to crystallise gains following recent strong market strengths. Obviously, prices have gone up, so landlords might be cashing in, maximising their profit from that deal. And at the same time, capital gain taxes, etc, etc, etc. I mean, obviously you know a lot about the budget, you've been reading the budget, so is there anything in the budget that would be encouraging landlords to sell up?
I actually think if you look at the budget, everything is designed really to carry the property market going up. I mean, they've increased the stamp duty, they're trying to keep it going. So yeah. I mean, I think we all expect it to take a little bit of a dip at some point or another, but like you said before, property market does this, doesn't it?
It does, so,
yeah. Are you selling right now?
No, not really.
I'm not selling right now.
No, I'm not, but some people are because I'm actually buying. I'm buying houses at the minute.
I'm building houses at the minute.
Building, I'm buying, and we're just going to see what happens. But okay, so that's why landlords are selling up. They're capitalising from the increase in property prices, and with the fear of capital gains tax coming along, really some landlords are just taking the time to throw a towel in and maximise their profit income. So look, that being said, let's move on to this week's quiz, and we're going to hand you over to the quiz master, Mr. Ricky Mando.
Thanks.
Oh, hold on. Sorry.
That was a terrible intro. Terrible.
I'm going to hand you over to the quizmaster, Mr. Ricky Mando.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much.
Love you, Brian.
This week in the red corner we have the one and only, the legend, the man himself, Mr. Russell Leeds. In the blue corner we have Alistair. Okay, you need your phones to write down the answers.
Oh, go on then.
Okay, so Everyone got their notes ready?
Hold on, what's the score? Is it still 4-3?
No.
I don't think you're still
7-2.
you're still losing.
I'm losing.
Either way, you're still losing.
Go on then, what's the question?
Don't rush me because you're losing.
Don't worry. Don't.
Question number 1.
Yeah.
Between October and December 2019,
Hold on. So October and December 2019. Yeah.
how many applications were received for planning permission?
You should know this.
Well, I should
It's
not.
funny because we were watching a TV program about this all night.
Counting like all the little things, like I wanna change the garage door and all that
Everything.
It's
Every
plan,
plan.
wasn't it? Because
in 3-month period.
Discovery program have every couple of weeks a program called Planning Application Laws and the latest changes, and we happened to tune in last night.
We watched it last night.
Yeah.
Do you remember what they said?
Yes, I did. Yes. Yeah.
Go on. What did you go for?
I'll give you the answers at the end.
I put that.
That's a lot more than I thought.
Oh, actually, no, I can't. I need to give you the answer now.
Go on.
Okay, Alistair, what did you put?
13,600.
He's terrible the way he does that. Isn't he? It makes you feel like such an idiot.
Russell?
I put 1,200. See what I mean?
It's probably a ridiculous amount.
100,300.
Well, I win.
100,000.
That's a lot, isn't it? But it must include all things like to change.
It includes residential developments, everything.
Still though, it's still a lot.
Yeah.
Out of the 100,300 that were granted, how many were... Sorry,
Start again.
start again.
He can't read.
I can't read. My mind's all over the place. Out of the 100,300, how many were granted?
So there was 100,300 grant issued,
Received.
How many were actually approved?
Yeah.
Okay. I kind of know this.
Do you remember from the other night?
Yeah. I'm going to go for a nice round number because I know roughly percentage of applications. Is that approved overall or approved on application?
With restrictions.
Approved.
Right, fine, go on.
Okay, Russell first this time.
30,000. Sorry, as in like, yeah, 30,000.
I put around 65,000.
83,500.
I know it's
So most of them
I
are
thought it was
approved.
65 to 70%.
I was assuming most of them wouldn't be approved.
Nah,
There you
65 to
go.
70%. So
Alright.
it's 2-0 to me.
Next-
Yay!
next
I
question.
love this quiz. You're a great quiz master, you are.
Roughly. How many houses?
You can't ask roughly.
No, but it's like...
Any thousands.
Okay, that's more of a disclaimer because it's not an exact figure
Go on,
because we
go
don't know an exact figure.
We know
But
you're not
roughly,
throwing figures.
how many...
What's 2 plus 2 roughly?
Roughly.
How many houses are being rented in the UK?
Ah, okay, in the hundreds of thousands, or the closest thousand, yeah?
Closest 100,000.
We had this the other week. We had a question similar to this the other week.
How many?
How many houses? How many
homes?
How many homes in the UK? So we know that not all of them are rentals, all of them are mortgage.
It was like 35 million, wasn't it? Or
No, it's
something?
much more than that.
What?
Homes.
How many homes are being rented?
Okay, go on then. I reckon that figure.
Oh, go on, Alistair.
No, wait till he's.
I've gone for 10 million.
I've gone for 18 million.
4.5 million.
Is that it? That's actually not a lot, is it?
Well, it's
When
about,
you, I suppose when you consider what's the population in the UK,
well,
it's
it's about
65 million.
It's about 35 million homes. So you were saying that every other home was rented.
Yeah, good point.
4.5 million.
25%, isn't it? Okay, go on. Next question.
Next question is, how much is the most expensive property on the market right now?
in the
in the
UK.
UK.
Yes.
Okay. I mean, I'm just gonna have a pop at this, but yeah, go on.
Okay, go ahead.
431,622,500.
320 million.
You laugh like you're like, oh. like it's a complete like.
I'm laughing at him.
It's
Alright.
77.5 million.
Is it?
It's a house in Belgravia, London.
There must be
It's-
more. I bet I can find more about.
Yeah, of course you can more available. It's on the market right now, isn't it?
Oh yeah, good point.
Right,
I didn't
so-
listen to the question, so it's 2-all.
2-all.
What did you learn?
I'll have to listen to the question better.
Okay, well, listen to this one properly then.
Hurry up and I say it properly.
What year were HMOs principally defined by the Housing Act?
Do you remember that program we were watching? Oh,
What
right,
year?
fine.
What year were HMOs principally defined?
What
Thing
year?
is, we'll say an
What-
answer.
where did they go from bed sits to HMOs? Definition of HMOs.
We'll say an answer. He'll be like, but if we asked him, he wouldn't know. He only knows because he's read it.
Oh no, it's just funny. It's just funny.
It's the worst. Can you imagine this on TV? Can you imagine? It's like, right, who was
Chris
giving
Evans,
you?
who was giving you? Yeah.
He's like, right, so what? How many houses are? Oh, this. What a dick.
Oh, okay. So when were HMOs first recognised in the UK as a HMO?
Yeah.
What year? Oh, I've got my answer.
Have you written it?
I have, yeah.
What have you written?
1986.
Russ?
1991.
1985.
I knew I was near. That means I win! That means I... Oh, man, you're such an amazing
Oh, good,
quizmaster.
right. Let's end the show now that you've won. We're not going to give you a
I
celebration.
really want to emphasise how good a quizmaster you are. And this part of the show is really the best part of the show. How many of you agree with that? If you do, just give me some thumbs up, give me some comments. Put in the comments, how many of you love this part of the quiz? You can stop talking because you lost. You are a big loser.
Okay, so it's now part of the show where it is your questions and our answers. So we're going to hand back over to our quizmaster, Ricky, but he'll do a much better job this time because you're the ones asking the questions.
Thanks, I thought I did a great job anyway. But here we go. Question from Jodine this week.
Is it Ricky or Doc Cotton that we've got here asking the questions?
It does sound like Doc Cotton, doesn't it? He doesn't know Doc Cotton.
Alright, enough of the jokes. Here we go. Question from Jodine. Jodine says, I'm struggling to value a house. Do I base it off like-for-like comparables or do I base it off square footage?
Well, first of all, Jodie, it sounds like you were a serious smoker. What?
That's so good.
What I would say is both. So you want to be looking for comparable, similar houses, but then what I do is I then work out what the price per square foot is for that house.
Yeah.
And then when you're working out your house, so you look for similar houses, and you work out what the price per square foot is, and then how many square foot is your house, and times that by that price, and that gives you your answer.
Yeah, that's fairly good. I agree with you. So nothing more to add. Jodine, hope you found that useful.
Okay, next question is from Tom, and Tom asks, do I need to get a separate mortgage or a different mortgage for small HMOs compared to single lets, i.e. 4-bedroom HMO?
Yeah, you will need a specific mortgage for that because it's not a single let property. A single let property would mean that you have one AST contract with one tenant. The minute you go to multiple AST contracts, you have to let the mortgage company know that because it therefore becomes a HMO multi-dwelling property. So yeah, speak to a broker, get a proper mortgage for it, and let them know exactly what you plan to do with it if you want to stay above the line of the law.
Next question, last one is from Cheryl. This one isn't really about property, but I wanted to ask anyway. I've seen you've been doing live virtual events. I've been to the crash course, but I want to do a virtual event. Is it just as intimate as the live ones?
It's amazing. It's brilliant. Make sure you're there. We've got one on 7th of April and it's a Wednesday. Make sure you are there. It's very intimate. You get lots of times, lots of opportunities to ask questions. And yeah, it's as intimate as you make it, okay? If you just sit there with your arms crossed and say this is going to be fun, then it'll be fun. If you say it's going to be the day that changes your life, it'll be the day that changes your life. And if you say that it will be an intimate event, it will be an intimate event for you.
Boom. And on that bombshell, time to end. Thanks ever so much for watching, guys, and we will see you next week.